My son had no idea my salary had just jumped to $75,000 a month. He yelled, "Get out, you broke loser." I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, especially at 68. Most of my friends are out there enjoying their golden years, playing with grandkids, just living their best lives. Me? I was huddled in the guest room of my eldest son's house, jumping at every little sound on the stairs. It felt like I was living someone else's nightmare. My name is Gwendolyn Taft, and I spent my entire working life as an accountant for Pierce Construction in San Antonio. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and stability became everything after my husband, Lester, died suddenly. One minute he was watching TV, complaining of heartburn, and 20 minutes later, he was gone. Just like that. I was left with 3 kids, ages 8, 12, and 14, and a mortgage. Raymond Pierce, my boss, was my salvation. He was incredibly understanding, letting me work from home when the kids were sick, always there when unexpected expenses popped up. I worked for him for 34 years, right up until I retired 3 years ago. My kids, they all turned out so different. Sybil, my middle child, is the most sensitive. She became an elementary school teacher, married a programmer named Dominic, and has 2 wonderful kids, Oliver and June. They live in Portland, and she calls me all the time, always sending the sweetest homemade cards from the grandkids at Christmas. Then there's Frank, my youngest. He inherited his dad's love for electronics, became an engineer, and moved to Chicago. He doesn't call as often as Sybil, but every single month, without fail, a small amount of money lands in my account, even though I've told him countless times I can manage. He recently divorced his wife, Paula, and sounds a bit lost on the phone, but he's getting there. And then there's Harlan, my eldest. He was always a difficult child, impulsive, stubborn, prone to little lies. Lester was better at handling his temper, but after Lester died, I just didn't always have the strength or the patience. Maybe I messed up with him. Or maybe that's just who he is. Harlan works as an insurance appraiser and married Daisy when he was 26. She's got these grand ideas about high society, even though she's just an administrator at a fitness club. They have 2 kids, Elliot, who's 15, and Nora, 13. My decision to move in with them wasn't something I planned. After I retired, I stayed in my little house, the one I'd finally paid off a year before I stopped working. My pension was modest, enough for basics, and I'd pick up some accounting consulting gigs for small businesses to make ends meet. But then, last fall, a flood hit. The basement and first floor were ruined, and the insurance barely covered half the repairs. I blew through almost all my savings, and what was left was barely enough for utilities. I was actually trying to figure out how much I could get for my grandmother's silver when Harlan called. "Mom, how would you feel about moving in with us?" he asked, and there was this uncharacteristic concern in his voice. "The kids miss you and Daisy, and I would feel better if you were around. We could even rent out your house for some extra income." I didn't jump at the offer. My relationship with Harlan had always been strained, and Daisy and I barely exchanged 2 words at family gatherings. But Harlan kept pushing, and eventually I gave in. I sold most of my furniture, rented my house out for just enough to cover taxes and insurance, and moved into their place on the outskirts of San Antonio with just 2 suitcases. The first few days were surprisingly good. Daisy was unusually sweet, showed me to the guest room on the first floor, gave me my own bathroom and a spot in the fridge. My grandkids, who I usually only saw once a year, were wary but polite. "We're so glad you're here, Mom," Harlan said, putting his arm around me. "Don't worry about a thing. Just live and enjoy yourself." But that feeling didn't last. On the evening of the 3rd day, we were all in the backyard. Full story on channel, link below. Watch what happened next.